Dr. Jeff Hertzberg has written a remarkable book. It is called Artisan Bread in 5 minutes a day, the discovery that has revolutionized home baking. Welcome.
Thank you, Roland. Thanks for having me on.
I'm delighted you're here for any number of reasons. We're dealing with a revolution here, and I have a lot of questions about why you decided to do this revolution and how you succeeded. But I want to start off first, since we're talking about revolutionary issues, let's show how it actually works. Why don't we start there?
Sure, just go right in and mix up a batch. Okay?
Great.
The idea is to mix a large batch of dough all at once and store it in the refrigerator for up to 2 weeks. So I've measured out 3 cups of lukewarm water. I'm going to add a tablespoon and a half of ordinary granulated yeast, any kind, tablespoon and a half of usually kosher salt, some kind of coarse salt. Give it a quick mix, doesn't have to be fully dissolved, and dump in all at once 6½ cups of flour, which I've pre-measured here. And then mix it together with a spoon. You can use a machine as an alternative, and that's fine. A large enough Cuisinart or a KitchenAid type machine. But I like to use a spoon. I like to get my hands in it. I'm never going to knead this stuff. I'm going to get it to a smooth consistency.
By knead, you mean K-N-E-A-D?
K-N-E-A-D. No, I knead this. I actually bake every day in my house.
But
so
you never have to knead, which was a basic element in baking for thousands of years.
That's right. A lot of people have understood, probably for about 15 years now, that if the dough is nice and wet, like this dough is, you don't need to knead it. The gluten will line itself up all by itself. And that really is it. I can mix up a 4-loaf batch in just a couple of minutes. That was probably less than 2 minutes. You can see how wet that is. And if you divide that amount of work over the 4 loaves, which I'm going to make over 2 weeks, it adds up to about 5 minutes a day. And I'll also show you how to shape the loaves after this has been refrigerated, if you like, or we can talk more.
Well, why don't we go ahead with the procedure?
Okay, so let's pretend this had been in the refrigerator for any time up to 2 weeks, and 3 days from now I want a loaf of bread.
What's the minimum it can be?
Well, you've got to let it sit on the counter for about 2 hours.
2 hours.
So
on the
this
counter?
Is gonna, in the counter at room temperature.
Okay.
It's going to double or triple in size and start to collapse, which is just fine.
And then you put it in the refrigerator?
Then you put it in the refrigerator. Anytime you want it for 2 weeks before it starts to get sort of over liquidy, you just put some flour on it, pick up a bunch in your hand, kind of dip it in the flour.
Are we now shaping it?
I'm now going to shape the loaf. Just pull it around to the bottom. I'm making sort of a small roll here. You just put it in your hands, pull the top around to the bottom. This takes less than a minute for each loaf. I'm making a very small loaf. This is more like a roll. But it's going to be a ball. It's going to be a bowl-shaped loaf. Put some cornmeal on a board. Drop that on there. Let that sit for 40 minutes about in this particular loaf. Some of them are as little as 20 minutes. Come back and slash them, like I'm doing this one. And after you bake that for about a half an hour at 450 degrees, you end up with something like what you've got next to you. And that literally is all it takes. I've got a bit of mess on my fingers, but other than that, I didn't make too bad of a mess of your studio. And it's the same for your kitchen as well.
So therefore, now we're going to, the work has been done.
Yes. And
this is ready to go into the oven.
In about a half hour, 40 minutes after it rises a second time.
Okay.
So it comes out of the refrigerator cold, you shape it, you slash it you slash at the end usually. I did it for the purposes of this demo right away. So all the work is done in advance, and you distribute it over many loaves.
So that's why you come across the version of 5 minutes.
That's right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Is there a sample that I could do?
There is. We can take a bite out of this one actually right here. You want to just break it maybe.
Okay.
I've got flour on my hands, but I'll let you
Not a problem.
take a piece off of that one. That is a baguette. It's a French shape. Classic thin loaf of France.
Now, folks,
it's mostly
this has
crust.
not been pre-tested. First time I've done this. Oh yeah.
I use the same dough to make the boule, which is the large one over there, and behind me there's a couronne, a crown-shaped bread, also from France. But our book, the idea was to be sort of multi-ethnic. We've got Italian breads, French breads,
This is really
Jewish
fabulous.
bread. Thank you.
Oh, so that brings me to the point about this is thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Now, I should mention that you are also a doctor of internal medicine.
That's right.
And so this was sort of a sideline.
This is a hobby.
A hobby. How did you happen to decide that you needed to revolutionize the bread industry since time immemorial?
it was necessity is the mother of invention. I moved to Minneapolis in 1987. I had grown up eating great crusty breads like this, and there weren't a lot of those bakeries left in Minneapolis by '87. And I was a medical resident with no time, and I learned the traditional method to bake my own, basically so I could have what I wanted. And I found it was ridiculous. I was working 80 to 100-hour weeks. And I started to subtract out steps from the traditional method. And a lot of people knew if you made a wet dough, you didn't really have to knead it. You didn't have to do a lot of the things that people thought you did. But the crucial one was you don't have to make it every day in order to eat the bread every day. Because if you make all the dough in advance and refrigerate it, you're set. And I usually double the basic book's recipe. So rather than making 4 loaves at a time, I make 8. And my family's set for a week or more. So I just started storing it for longer and longer, and it worked.
It wasn't that difficult to develop the technique.
No, it was just basically trial and error, skipping a bunch of things. Really succeeding with the book, though, required meeting a pastry chef. His name is Zoe Francois.
So she's your co-author.
She's the co-author on the book, and together we actually developed the book from that basic method. And she expanded it to include all the classic brioche shapes and tastes with
And
egg
the book
enriched.
itself, you can get at all the bookstores.
All the bookstore, Borders, Barnes & Nobles, online and Amazon, through our website, wherever you want it.
And it's doing very well in terms of national.
Yeah, since its release about 11 months ago, it's been the #1 bread cookbook on Amazon. It's always in the top 500 or 600 books out of 4 million on Amazon. So we've done surprisingly well. We expected it to be a little hobby. We didn't expect it to actually turn into a business.
Well, I congratulate you.
Thank you.
I just tried it out for the first time, as I said. It's awfully good.
Thank you.
And I congratulate you for experimenting. You've changed the world.
Thanks.
Talking to Dr. Jeff Hertzberg, and the book is Artisan Bread in 5 minutes a Day. Thanks a lot.